Welcome to another edition of WCW 1998, How I Would Book It. This is Monday Nitro, and we are one night removed from WCW and WO Sold Out, which was live on pay-per-view from the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. Tonight's show starts with Sting. Tonight's show starts with a highlight package of last night's pay-per-view. Also highlighting the main event, where we saw Sting against Kevin Nash, and interference from Hulk Hogan. In many respects, people think it was because Nash did it to Hogan at Starrcade, so Hogan returned the favor. And now we move to the next segment with Tony, Mike, and Bobby discussing what we're going to see tonight on the show. And they touch on the fact that Chris Benoit will be defending the WCW television title tonight. As well, we will see the return of a rivalry, Diamond Dallas Page versus Randy Savage in the main event. Much more will be featured tonight on Nitro. And now we move to the first part of the segment with the NWO making their presence felt on Nitro as Hogan, Eric Bischoff, Bryan Adams, and Mike Awesome make their way to the ring, and Eric is going to be holding the mic for Hulk Hogan. And Hogan says, back at Starrcade, he would start like this. Listen here, my NWOites. Back at Starrcade, brother, the family had a little bit of a problem. Because Kevin Nash and Scott Hall thought that they weren't being treated the right way, and they wanted to get out from under Hollywood Hogan's shadow. Little did they know, through all this time, we were a family. Families have problems. And that's why I brought in that big guy over there. Because if you can't trust family, who can you trust? As Hogan is pointing to Mike Awesome, as Mike Awesome and Hollywood Hogan are actually related in some form. And he's the replacement for Scott Hall, because the only thing Scott Hall knew how to do is put people... Excuse me. He's the replacement for Kevin Nash, because all Kevin Nash knew how to do is complain and put people down with a power bomb. Pointing to Bryan Adams. So Kevin Nash, you're not special, you're not irreplaceable, and you're not gonna get the WCW World title before me. Because we're not going anywhere. You want to break up the NWO? You want to end this? You want to make it where it's one faction, where it's not NWO, WCW anymore? Just because we wanted to trim the fat and get you out of the way because you stepped over the line. Remember that, Kevin. You started this when you cost me the title at Starrcade. I returned the favor by costing you the title last night. You got nothing that you didn't already deserve, not only at Sold Out, but the week before when me and my family attacked you. And here comes Kevin Nash, and he doesn't look happy. Kevin said, Hollywood, first of all, you don't get it. You don't get it because your ego is preventing you from getting it. Fact is, me and Scott did not leave because we were tired of being in your shadow. We left the NWO. We turned our back on you because we knew you wouldn't be where you are without us. Because there would be no NWO without us. And you know something else? You forgot that. So we had to help you remember. That's why I cost you the title at Starrcade. Because you had to be brought down to earth and made to realize the NWO is where it's at today because of me and Scott, not because of Hollywood Hulk Hogan. You had nothing to do with it. Because the NWO would still be a thing without Hulk Hogan, but without Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, none of it would have been possible. And you want to say you got your family in the faction now, in the NWO now, and that makes you stronger? Because if you can't trust family, Hulk, let's put it this way. I don't care if it's your family, I don't care if it's your son, I don't care if it's your mother. Me and Scott are going to go on are not gonna stop until the NWO isn't a thing anymore. Now Eric takes over. That's where you're wrong, Kevin. It's just gonna be you. Because if you didn't notice, Scott isn't here tonight. There's a reason for that. Because he's home training. See, a few weeks ago, when me and Scott had that private meeting on Nitro, he told me that he wanted to cash in his shot at the WCW World Heavyweight title against Sting a month early. He didn't want to do it at Uncensored. He wanted to do it at Super Brawl. And fact is, Kevin, I told him he can do it on one condition. That if he loses, he's fired. Because of his actions in the weeks prior, and because of the fact that he wants to change the rules. And last time I checked, only I can change the rules. So he has to risk everything for the possibility of getting that title wrapped around his waist. Eric, you son of a... What are you gonna do, Kevin? What are you gonna do? It's 3-on-1. What are you gonna do? It's 3-on-1. Hogan, Bryan Adams, and Mike Awesome will make you end up in the hospital before you even get a hand on me. What are you gonna do, Kevin? You're not gonna do nothing. You're not gonna do nothing. You know what, Kevin? Next week on Nitro, you step into the ring against a member of my choice from the NWO. And your punishment will begin because you will learn your lesson, Kevin. You will learn to not mess with Eric Bischoff and Hollywood Hulk Hogan. You will regret the day that you did. And now I know it took a little bit, but that was a long segment. What can I say? We move to our first match. Kurt Hennig against Fit Finlay. The reason for this match is plain and simply because neither one of the guys have competed that much, so I wanted to get him in the ring. Now we move to another segment, which is a music video highlight. See, for those who don't know, Ric Flair got attacked last night in the dark following his match against Buff Bagwell. He got attacked by we assume the same person who's been attacking his friends, that being Arn Anderson and Roddy Piper. Excuse me. And that leads, then we have the music video and the announcers. We move back to the announce booth where Tony, Mike, and Bobby talk about Ric Flair's condition following his attack last night at Sold Out. Tony, Mike, and Bobby discuss the condition of Flair, and they come to the general consensus that whoever's doing it will not stop until Ric Flair cannot come back. But they agree that Ric Flair will not stop coming back because there's nobody with a bigger heart. Very few people have a bigger heart than the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And he will not stop till he gets his revenge. Because we've seen Flair get knocked down and come back, but we've never seen him get knocked down like this. And that comes from Tony Schiavone. And now we move to the next segment, which is a tag team match, a tag team title match, Harlem Heat versus the Steiners, which ends in a countout after the Faces of Fear run out and attack. Of course, it's the wrong people, because Stevie Ray and Scott Steiner were counted out, and yet Megan the Barbarian attacked Rick Steiner and Booker T, but let's not say they did. Let's say they attacked the right people. And Sting and the Barbarian, the Faces of Fear attack the Rick Steiner and Booker T, which leads to a big brawl between the Faces of Fear, the Harlem Heat, and the Steiner brothers, which leads to a lot of security breaking them up as we go to a commercial break. And as we come back, we are back in the announce position with Tony, Mike, and Bobby, and they put over the fact that we'll be seeing the return of a rivalry. DDP, Randy Savage, take on in the main event for the first time since the spring of 1997. They will be competing against one another for the first time since the spring of 1997. And now we move on to the television title defense from Chris Benoit, as Chris Benoit defends the title against Mortis, and Benoit walks away, still the television champion. Now we move on to the next contest. The next segment, rather, as we zoom in, and the flock is sitting at ringside. As we zoom in on the Flux, sitting at ringside, Raven, Perry Saturn, Hammer, Kidman, Riggs, Lodi, and Sick Boy, all sitting at ringside, watching the show. And now we move to the next segment with Mean Gene Okerlund. Mean Gene Okerlund talking to Raven, asking Raven about his actions last night at Sold Out and why he attacked Diamond Dallas Page. And Raven would say something like this: Gene, Diamond Dallas Page is everything I hate. Diamond Dallas Page works for everything and gets everything he works for, and that's why he has the admiration of these people, and I don't know why, because DDP is nothing but similar to Raven. Yet these people shun me and cheer him. What about me? What about Raven? Quote to Raven, nevermore. See, I don't know, that could, maybe that was a good segment. Maybe a good promo from Raven. I've never done a Raven promo before, so let me know in the comment section below if you thought that was a good Raven promo. If not, please tell me how I can improve down in the comment section. We move to the next match, which is Rey Mysterio Jr. against Steve McMichael, and Rey Mysterio gets the victory off a distraction from Steve McMichael's wife, Deborah, who came down and distracted Steve once again. And now we move to the post-match segment, which is Deborah in the ring. Deborah enters the ring post-match, and Steve and Deborah get into an argument about the fact that this is the second match in a row Deborah has cost Steve. And now we turn to the next segment as from out of nowhere, Alex Wright attacks Steve McMichael, and Deborah has a strange smile on her face as Alex is beating down her husband. More questions than answers in that case. Now we move to the next segment and the next match, where Goldberg defeats Chris Jericho and continues his undefeated streak. I know that you've not seen Goldberg yet in this season, but he's been competing on Saturday night and winning against various enhancement talent. Now we move to the next match next segment, as Bret Hart makes his way to the ring and issues an open challenge to any man on the roster. And he especially mentions Randy Savage's name, as he tells as he says to Randy, pay attention. Pay attention, Savage, because I'm going to prove to you especially why I am still the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. As he defeats his, as Bret's challenge was accepted by Disco Inferno, and Bret dispatches Disco Inferno pretty easily with the sharpshooter. Now we move to the next segment, which is back to the announce position one last time as Tony, Mike, and Bobby talk up the main event. Randy Savage, Diamond Dallas Page. The first time these two heated rivals, are stepping into the ring since 1997. And the main event and the winner is Randy Savage, after the Flock distracts DDP once again. The Flock takes advantage of DDP of their seats at ringside, and Perry Saturn, Lodi, and Sick Boy distract Diamond Dallas Page. but do not get physically involved in the match, and just distract him long enough for Randy Savage to capitalize and win the match before the flock members are called back over the railing by Raven. An average show, but the fact of the matter is, it took a little bit to get everything under control and my direction right in WWE, and it's gonna be the same thing in the WCW. So it takes time to get my direction going. So bear with me and enjoy the ride as WCW continues. And don't forget, if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe for more content just like this that you can only find on Wrestling Express. Thanks for joining me. Till next time.